So how would somebody actually take that first step if they come to you and say, right, I'm not happy where I am and I want to do something about it? How can they start to actually kind of change their mindset?
Such a great question, isn't it? I think the answer that springs to mind is looking at what they already have that they want more of. Because I think it's very easy, isn't it? I mean, you talk about negative bias of we tend to see the things that are more negative before we see the positive. And I think there's a great, the word that has been used more frequently recently is, when you get the ick. So it's that, I think it came out of a Love Island or something. I don't know. I don't watch it, but I know exactly what you mean, don't you? When people say somebody's got the ick, and it's like all of a sudden something you can't see past any of the negatives, like everything that happens starts to annoy you, starts to frustrate you. And whether that's business, work, relationships, way of life, I think it's really easy to get sucked into it, isn't it? Of that negative bias of suddenly all you can see are the negatives. All you can see and feel is everything that you're trying to move away from. And then that becomes so consuming, doesn't it? And it really drags you into that negative mindset. So I think to start to come away from that, even though you recognize that there's an ick and you want something different, it's very much for me about working with, okay, what is it you do love? What is it you have got that you enjoy, that makes you happy, that that gives you that fulfillment in life that you want to keep hold of and do more of? And then let's start with that, and then look to see where the gaps are and where do you want to start to make some changes. And quite often, the wheel of life is a great exercise to help people to get that real visual, a very visual way of seeing what's working and what's not working, to be able to then start to pick out, okay, where do we want to start focusing attention to start to make some changes. But I think that appreciation and gratitude of what you already have is very easy to overlook when something isn't working. So I think that for me is probably where I start with a lot of people. I think it's just working out what they do want and what they do have that they want to keep hold of or want more of, and then look at where the gaps are.
No, I totally agree. And I think we see that a lot in the people kind of trying to make those practical moves as well, that exactly the same concept. They've probably already got a lot of the skills or abilities to do it, but it's just maybe it's a bit of guidance, maybe it's the self-belief, maybe it's circumstance, whatever. But the sort of, ultimately cheesy thing about that is the Michelangelo thing that, he probably never said really, but, actually the David sculpture was already in the block and all he had to do was chip away the rough stuff from around the edges and reveal it. I'm sorry if he did say that. I'm not quite 100% convinced that someone wrote that down 500 years ago and made it into a nice Instagram quote. But but I think it's true. Like, I think people, just like we were saying earlier with the mindset stuff, people don't always realize that actually it's maybe not as far away as you think, or it's actually not a whole kind of complete about turn. And I really like those exercises too, for actually seeing what you've got and what's kind of missing, because like you say, it's so easy to catastrophize. And there's I think there's even sort of proven psychological fact, isn't it, that negative things are sort of 3 or 4 times more powerful than positive ones. So we're kind of hardwired to always look for the worst case scenario, which I guess is great when you're a caveman and you're always looking over your shoulder for a polar bear, mammoth or whatever. But you don't need that so much when it's actually just you're in the wrong